Coming up on Network Africa. Three people lose their lives after an early morning accident on the Kara Bridge of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Racial tensions build up in some South African communities after a viral video of two white men forcing a wailing black man into a coffin. And Durban hosts the first Essence Festival in Africa. Welcome to the program. I am Bisi Adebayo. We begin right here in Lagos, Nigeria, where three people have been confirmed dead after an early morning accident on the Kara Bridge of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The accident involved about 4 vehicles, all completely burnt. The collision is believed to have been caused by a truck carrying consumables running into a tanker laden with diesel. Evacuation efforts are almost over, with men of NEMA, LASEMA, NSCDC, fire service and the police all combining resources. Traffic is still heavy as officials are working to clear the roads.
The inferno began as most Lagosians were waking up to brand new day. Most commuters heading towards the Mowe-Bafo axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway were already expecting the usually heavy traffic because of the ongoing road rehabilitation, but no one was prepared for the horrific scenes waiting along the Kara market area. Residents living in the Berger, Xray and adjoining areas say they heard a loud explosion in the wee hours of today. Eyewitnesses later reported it was caused by a collision between 2 heavy-duty trucks. A vehicle carrying biscuits ran into another laden with diesel.
So we are in our truck because there is hold up. So I'm in my truck when I hear a noise. After the noise, the next thing I see is fire. The tanker on my side just exploded. So, and I find it difficult to rush out from my vehicle with my boy. So we thank God we survived it, and we lost many things inside because everything burned down.
This is the aftermath. It's hard to tell the actual number of casualties at this time as bodies were burnt beyond recognition, but 3 fatalities have so far been reported. Evacuation of burnt vehicles have since begun, with the fire service, police, LASEMA and FRSC combining resources.
What you have seen was a classical example of indiscipline that has been happening on this road since the commencement of the rehabilitation of the route. As you can see, there are about 4 vehicles involved, which means 2-lane carriageway had been converted to 4 lanes. And as a result, they struck themselves and there was a crash. And as a result, there was also an explosion of fire. But what is happening right now is that we have all mobilized and we are trying to see that the debris are removed and the traffic is restored.
With a higher percentage of accidents usually recorded at this time of the year, road safety officials have already started their Ember Months campaign, cautioning commuters to be extra careful. One of the measures being introduced is the speed limiter being installed in vehicles. As the year draws to a close, this will no doubt add to the statistics of road fatalities across the country. Officials are hopeful that with the increased campaigns, there might be a decrease in the number of accidents from previous years. Joke Rogers reporting for Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the Southwest spokesperson of the National Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Ibrahim Familoye, has advised motorists going in and out of Lagos to avoid the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway or pick another date of travel until the situation on the road is cleared. Speaking on Channels Television earlier today, he advised drivers to be more aware of the state of their vehicle before embarking on any journey. Mr. Familoye says that drivers need to know how to use the fire extinguishers in their vehicles.
We've started evacuating the wreckages of the affected vehicles. In the next 1 hour, the traffic will be opened. Presently, by now, as I'm here now, the last vehicle, the last wreckage on the road will have been removed. The next phase is to clear the debris on the road and get fire service to get much water to cool the affected portion of the road because of the heat. If we allow any vehicle to pass through that route now, some of the tires can be affected and get peeled off along the way, as most of them are most of the vehicles trapped now are long distance traveling vehicles. So we want to ensure that no matter how late they are, they should get to their destination in safe condition. We have 2 tankers, 3 articulated vehicles, and 1 smaller car. At least we recovered the dead body, and 1 motor boy was sustained light injury. We've gone on here, both electronic, social media, and some of the newspapers who run online something to advise motorists to avoid Lagos-Ibadan route, take Ibadan, or alternatively Ijebu the route to bust at Shagamu to avoid such route, because both inward and outward Lagos, the traffic has been very, very heavy. So what we have done was to alternate the single road, the inward Lagos, to alternate it 1 hour or 2 hours. Outward Lagos will be 2 lanes, while inward Lagos will be 1 lane. Alternatively, we change it like that to reduce those who have been trapped presently now, while other traffic owners. And we also advise that most of the people who are traveling now, if they can, since they are still within Lagos, if they can postpone their journey till maybe possibly tomorrow when the traffic will be less, it will be much more safer and better for them to do that. We only advise drivers to be very, very conscious of their safety, and especially their vehicles. They should look at their vehicles. Then the tanker's driver has to know how to operate their fire extinguishers.
In other news now, 2 white South African men appeared in court today over charges of assault and kidnapping after a video showed them forcing a wailing black man into a coffin. The 20-second video, which was widely circulated on social media, shows Victor Rathabile cowering inside a coffin as one man pushes a lid on his head and the other threatens to put petrol and a snake inside the casket. Rathabile escaped, although it's not clear how, but the case has caused outrage in a country where deep racial divides persist 22 years after the fall of apartheid. The radical left-wing Economic Freedom Fighters Party, which campaigns for a more even distribution of wealth between white and black South Africans, led a rally outside the court.
Let's not forget that they took our land over, and if it comes to a push, we'll drive them to the sea, because they took our land and now they are actually dealing with our people each and every day, antagonizing our people. So we're not going to allow that kind of situation under this democracy.
Let me tell you why white people continue to be arrogant. Let me tell you why they've got the audacity to capture one of our own, beat him up as he asks for help. They beat him more. As he prays for help, they beat him more. Then they put him in a coffin, threatening to burn him alive. Why do white people, 22 years after Nelson Mandela forgave them, why do they still do that?
Joining us to speak more on this is our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia. Thank you for joining us. Now, apart from the protests we just saw in that video, how are South Africans reacting to this video?
Of course, a lot of people have any sane person video saw somebody putting him into a prison that it was questioned if it
Okay, we just have to cut this video. We'll re-establish connections with Betty. But in the meantime, let's go to Kenya, where the government has announced that it's suspending the repatriation of Somali refugees and closure of the Dadaab refugee camp for 6 months. In a statement, Interior Minister General Joseph Xray says this is in response to a request from the UN Refugee Agency. General Xray says repatriation will take place in a humane, safe and dignified manner following allegations by rights groups that the Kenyan authorities have been forcing refugees to leave. The Kenyans have drawn up a monthly plan that includes ending the double registration of refugees as Kenyan citizens, relocating non-Somali refugees to other camps, relocating Somali refugees to third countries, repatriating Somali refugees, and finally closing Dadaab. And in the Gambia, politicians have begun campaigning for the presidential election due to take place on December the 1st. Incumbent President Yahya Jammeh is seeking re-election for a 5th term and for the first time is facing a single opposition candidate. Most of the major Gambian opposition parties earlier this month picked businessman Adama Barrow of the United Democratic Party to run against him. The Gambia, a popular tourist destination because of its beaches, has never experienced a democratic transition of power since independence. President Jammeh took over in a 1994 coup, and his critics accuse him of running a repressive state, an allegation he denies. Back here in Nigeria, children uprooted by Boko Haram violence have returned to school in various parts of northern Nigeria after a military offensive drove the Islamic group from much of its former territory. About 90,000 children are benefiting from the program that provides them with school kits and uniforms.
2 years ago, the Central Primary School in Mongono, northeast Nigeria was closed after attacks by Boko Haram insurgents made it too dangerous for children in the area to attend classes. A military offensive in the region has now brought back a sense of security and people are slowly returning to the town. Central Primary School is one of the centers housing displaced families who have camped in the school's playground. Among the displaced students is 13-year-old Modi Umar, who lives here with his family. Modi and his family fled to Borno state capital Maiduguri when fighting in Mongono intensified. He briefly attended school there, but the institution later closed down as well because of the conflict.
I felt like crying when I saw other children with uniforms and bags going to school.
Though majority of the town's schools remain closed, Modi and his friends have been able to attend classes at the camp. With the support from UNICEF, 4 classrooms in the Central Primary School have reopened. Modi is one of nearly 90,000 children across northeast Nigeria learning through the program.
If I come big boy, if I finish school, my best subject, English and Maths. If I go doctor, English and Maths, we want to help me.
Boko Haram, which had vandalized schools and villages, killed and kidnapped thousands of people, had seized parts of northeastern Nigeria by last year, but had since lost significant ground amid growing regional military pressure. The military have continued to carry out suicide bombings and raids in the region, though around 2.6 million people have been displaced in the Lake Chad Basin, where Chad, Niger, Nigeria and Cameroon meet.
Coming up after the break, the International Criminal Court looks into the crisis challenging its authority from Africa. Do join us again.